Let's begin with the who and where of production and distribution for Apocalypse Now. Apocalypse Now, released in 1979, is an American war film based in the Vietnam War era that was directed and produced by Francis Ford Coppola. Its principal photography was shot in multiple locations within the Philippines, namely Baler, Luzon, Manila, Iba, and Pagsanhan. Omni Zoetrope was the production company that produced it, and United Artists Corp. Distributed it. According to the American Film Institute, or the AFI, the release date was postponed at least 5 times, finally settling for a world premiere for the 15th August 1979. And according to the United Artists themselves, the reason for this delay was caused by editing 1.5 million feet of footage and the complicated post-production sound, which was a justification they provided to their chosen exhibitors. So what does it cost to produce a film such as this? Distribution was not straightforward, or issues with an increasing budget requirement complicated the financial aspects of the film's production and distribution. For instance, the original budget nearly doubled from the original $12 million, reaching its peak figure of $31.5 million, which urged Coppola to use his estate as collateral to guarantee a loan and cover the average. The financing was procured from numerous other sources as well, with initial costs covered by United Artists, which covered $7 million domestically, and from foreign distributors that paid a total of $7 million for the territorial rights. Totaling a $45 million investment, United Artists also contributed to about $9 million in advertising expenditures. Since the film was funded privately and independently, it did not involve any governmental funding. So, producing and funding Apocalypse Now was considered an expensive project and required constant revisions to accommodate the project's vision. Was there any kind of governmental involvement at all then? While the United States Pentagon and the Australian Defense Ministry denied any support for the initial scouting location choices of Georgia and Florida in the United States and Queensland, Australia, they were aided by the cooperation of Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos. The filmmakers were able to source not only military equipment belonging to the United States, but also Philippine pilots and helicopters that were often summoned for actual combat operations against revolutionary guerrillas on the island of Mindanao. How much revenue did it make in terms of each of the windows and country markets it was made available in? In its theatrical performance, its worldwide box office comprised a total of $85,915,846, with a breakup of $83,471,511 domestically, and $2,444,335 internationally. In its home market performance, in its domestic video Blu-ray sales, it made a total of $7,003,869. It is particularly essential to note this figure because in the mid-70s, through the consolidation of some competing media and the advent of new distribution networks such as pay TV and home video, as well as thanks to revenues from secondary markets, pay TV, home video, broadcasting, that the film industry can afford to make expensive movies and be sure of a return of their investment, as is significantly evident in the case of Apocalypse Now. In terms of all the individual markets of every other country it was made available in, we have created a chart via figures received from thenumbers.com to provide information on the highest grossing territories and their total box office figures respectively. These figures are as recent as 2018 to 2020. However, in interpreting these numbers, it is imperative to note another piece of information. The lowness or highness of these numbers was also contingent upon the number of theaters, more specifically screens, each of these windows actually involved. For example, while Australia had a maximum of 22 theaters, it utilized only 1 theater during the opening weekend screening. On the other hand, Russia had a total of 112 maximum theaters and utilized all 112 for its opening weekend screening. Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of 3 videos of our Apocalypse Now video essay series. This series was written by Keya Shirali and part 1 was voiced by me, Beatrice Villadelgado. Stay tuned for the next 2 parts and also check out Carleton Film Society's social media pages for more content just like this.